That night, Jimin didn't cry. And that was exactly what made tens of thousands of ARMY inside Goyong Stadium go silent for a brief moment, before they ended up crying harder than any of the nights before. 3 nights, 3 performances, 3 different moments, each leaving a bittersweet mark on every single person who was there. But the third night, the final night, April 12th, 2026, something was different. Not because the stage was more spectacular, not because the set list changed drastically, but because there was one sentence that Jimin said to 44,000 people at Goyong Stadium that would then be replayed millions of times across the entire world. A simple sentence, a sentence that should have been ordinary. But if you understand the context of the last 3 years, the context of the first night drenched in heavy rain, the context of a Jimin whose hands were visibly trembling during a live stream just 3 days earlier, you'll understand why that sentence felt like a confession. Stay here, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this moment was never just a concert. Hello everyone, welcome back. For those of you stopping by for the first time, this channel is where we break down BTS moments deeply. No gossip, no unnecessary drama, just analysis that makes you think, oh, so that's what was happening behind this moment. If that's what you're here for, go ahead and subscribe, because we're just getting started. And for today's video, I've been putting together something I've been working on for a few days now. BTS's final night at Goyong Stadium, April 12th, 2026, and specifically what Jimin said and did that turned that night into something far greater than just a concert. Ready? Let's get into it. For those of you just catching up, let me give you a quick rundown of the context. The BTS World Tour Arirang officially began on April 9th, 2026 at Goyong Stadium in Gyeonggi-do, South Korea. And this wasn't just any tour. This was BTS's first tour as all 7 members together after nearly 4 years away due to mandatory military service. 4 years! Think about what it means to wait for someone for 4 years, and then the night finally arrives. BTS held 3 consecutive nights at Goyong, April 9th, April 11th, and April 12th, 2026. A combined total of approximately 132,000 attendees in person. That's before you count the millions watching through live streams on Weverse and cinema screenings around the world. The first night, April 9th, hit by heavy rain. The stage was slippery, choreography was reduced for safety reasons, stage smoke couldn't clear properly because there was no wind, and after the concert, Jimin went live on Weverse, visibly exhausted, and what went viral, his hands were trembling. The second night, April 11th, the weather was more cooperative. Jimin performed more freely. Korean media described it like watching a film. Every movement, every expression, every second looked like a perfectly directed scene. And then came the third night, the final night, April 12th. Clear skies, no rain, and Jimin had something he needed to say. The third night's concert opened the same way as the 2 nights before, with a dramatic intro, 7 figures running across the stage with red flares cutting through the mist, and Hooligan tearing everything open with energy that hit you straight in the chest. But something was different from the very first second. Goyong that night was clear, and for anyone who had witnessed the first night, rain-soaked, half-obscured by smoke that couldn't clear, the Jimin who said there were so many things that were disappointing today, the difference was felt immediately and viscerally. The set list moved through seamlessly. Swim, 2.0, Normal, Idol, Fake Love, Dynamite, Butter, all the songs that had been waiting for years, performed with full energy by 7 men who genuinely seemed to be savoring every single second of it. And then came the moment that made this video exist. In the final section of the concert, after the encore when all 7 BTS members sat together at the edge of the circular stage, facing a crowd that was still standing and screaming, Jimin picked up his microphone, and he asked, slowly, simply, as if speaking to an old friend, "Are you all having fun today?" The roar of 44,000 voices answered all at once. And then he continued in a quieter tone, almost like a whisper. "I can see you so clearly because it isn't raining. Thank you for waiting. I missed you so much." Simple enough, right? But hold on, because this is only the surface. Within minutes of those words being spoken,
Clips from every angle, fan sites, official fan cams, screen recordings from live streams began spreading across every platform. On X, the hashtags Jimin Majimakbam and Jimin Goyang 3 shot into global trending almost instantly. One of the most retweeted posts that night read, "He said, 'I missed you so much and my entire body just gave out. 4 years! 4 years! And this is how he comes back?' Over 400,000 likes within a few hours. On TikTok, a slow-motion video of Jimin delivering that line, audio lowered so his words could be heard more clearly, racked up over 30 million views in 48 hours. On Instagram, Korean fan sites posted high-resolution photos of that exact moment. Jimin sitting at the edge of the stage, his gaze turned toward the crowd, his smile unforced, his blonde hair slightly disheveled after nearly 3 hours on stage. And on YouTube, dozens of fan channels began uploading reaction videos, many of which ended with the creator in tears in front of their camera. But why this level of reaction? Why did something so seemingly simple explode like this? To answer that, we need to talk about one thing almost no one has brought up. Let's go back to the first night for just a moment. When Jimin went live on Weverse on the night of April 9th, he looked exhausted. His hands were trembling, and something he said during that stream has rarely been picked up in wider media coverage. "I feel disappointed, not with you, but with myself." Jimin was blaming himself for technical conditions that were clearly beyond anyone's control. The rain that came, the absence of wind, the choreography that had to be pulled back, he carried all of that as a personal failure. This is a pattern that longtime ARMY have recognized across years of following Jimin. Jimin is consistently the BTS member who is hardest on himself. In numerous interviews across the years, he has repeatedly acknowledged that he never feels quite good enough, that there is always a gap between what he imagines and what he's able to execute. And on that first night of the concert, a moment that was supposed to be the peak of everything, the culmination of 4 years of waiting, it didn't feel perfect to him. Then came the third night. Clear skies, dry stage, no technical obstacles, and for the first time across 3 nights, Jimin could actually see the faces in front of him. The line, "I can see you so clearly because it isn't raining," that wasn't filler, that wasn't stage patter. That was an acknowledgement from someone who 2 nights earlier could only see a sea of purple lights through a curtain of rain and stage fog. That was Jimin finally getting exactly what he had wanted from the very beginning. In a much larger context, what happened on the final night at Goyong was a resolution. 4 years of absence. 4 years of each BTS member living a life radically different from anything they had ever known. Military barracks, physical training, distance from music, distance from the stage, distance from ARMY. And Jimin, who many fans and analysts consider the member most emotionally tied to the idol fandom relationship, moved through all of that in ways he has never fully spoken about in public. "Thank you for waiting" is not a standard artist-to-fan line of courtesy. It is a sentence from someone who knows, who truly, deeply knows that waiting is hard, who understands that on the other side of a 4-year hiatus, there were millions of people still listening to their music, still putting up their posters, still hoping they would come back. And they did come back, and Jimin could see it clearly. No rain, no fog, under stadium lights illuminating 44,000 faces that had missed him just as much. But wait, there is one detail from that night that almost no one has talked about. When Jimin said, "I missed you so much," look very carefully at the fan site footage. Jimin wasn't scanning the crowd broadly. He was looking toward one specific direction, the upper left corner of the stands, and then he gave a small nod, very small, almost imperceptible unless you were watching closely. Several fan sites that captured the moment sparked immediate discussion in fan communities. One theory that began circulating, in that corner of the stands, an area typically kept restricted, there was a special screen displaying messages from international ARMY who couldn't attend in person. digital messages from fans in difficult circumstances, fans who were severely ill and had sent video messages from hospital beds, and fans who had passed away before ever getting to see this comeback. If that's true, and no official confirmation has been made, then that small nod was not just a nod. That was Jimin speaking to the ones who couldn't be there, the ones who missed him from far away, the ones who waited but didn't make it in time. And what makes it even striking? This is not the first time Jimin has done something like this without it ever being widely reported.
If you've been following BTS from the early days, the No More Dream era, the I Need You era, the HYHY era, you'll remember what Jimin was like back then. A young man from Busan who always seemed slightly uncertain of himself on camera, who often covered his face when he cried, who said repeatedly that he wasn't sure he deserved the position he was in. In older episodes of Run BTS and In the Soup, there's one iconic moment that gets replayed frequently. Jimin, in casual conversation, saying with a small laugh, "I just want to make you all proud, that's all, nothing more than that." 13 years later, 13 years since debut, dozens of awards, 2 solo albums, chart records too numerous to list, and the words spoken on the stage at Goyang sounded like the grown-up version of that same sentence. "Thank you for waiting. I missed you so much." Still the same Jimin, the one who has always placed his relationship with ARMY at the very center of everything, even amid all the achievements surrounding him. But there was a shift, a very significant one, that was palpable on the final night at Goyang. The younger Jimin, the one who debuted with orange hair, often appeared to be searching for validation from the audience. His eyes always carried a quiet question: is this enough? Am I enough? The Jimin standing at the edge of the Goyang stage that night, 29 years old, blonde hair, eyes taking in 44,000 purple lights, no longer looked like he was searching. He looked like someone who had finally arrived at the answer. Knowing that it was enough, knowing that the answer had always been there, in the sea of ARMY that never left. There was a moment, right after Jimin spoke his final words, and just before BTS stood for their last bow, where the stadium went quiet. Not quiet because the crowd had lost their energy, quiet because 44,000 people simultaneously took a breath. A fan who was there that night wrote about it in an online community, and her post became one of the most shared pieces of writing that week. "I've seen BTS live since 2019. I've cried, I've screamed until my voice was gone, I've nearly passed out right by the gate. But that Sunday night, the last night at Goyang, I couldn't do anything. I just stood there and stared because it felt too large to hold any other way." And among the 7 sitting at the edge of that stage, J-Hope laughing while wiping his eyes, Jin blowing dramatic kisses into the crowd, Suga slowly raising his hand, RM briefly bowing his head, there was Jimin, the calmest one, the one barely moving, looking forward toward the crowd with an expression that was difficult to read but felt completely and utterly full. Full of what? Maybe relief. Maybe gratitude, maybe the quiet awareness that 4 years of waiting from both sides had finally arrived at this clear, open night beneath lights that couldn't be counted in a stadium that had already witnessed so many of BTS's most defining moments. That night wasn't just the final day of Goyang. That night was a new page, turned in the most Jimin way possible, calm, deep, and carrying a meaning that only fully lands a few days after you first heard it. So, there it is, one sentence from one person on one night. But if you've listened to all of it, the context, the background, the journey behind it, you know that sentence carried a weight far heavier than anything you hear on the surface. "I can see you so clearly because it isn't raining." This was never about the weather. It was about someone who was finally able to be fully present, physically, emotionally, after years spent somewhere that didn't allow him to be. It was about eyes that could finally look without anything in the way. It was about a heart that could finally say, "I am here, I see you,
and I missed you so much. Now, I want to ask you something. If you had been there, standing among those 44,000 people on that final, clear night at Goyang, what would you have felt when Jimin said those words? Or if you were watching from home, from another country, from a small phone screen in the corner of your room at midnight, what shifted inside you when you heard them? Write it in the comments. I read all of them, and the best responses will be pinned. If this video moved you, or at least made you think, a like genuinely means a lot. And if you want more breakdowns like this one, subscribing is still free. Until the next video, and as Jimin reminded all of us that night, thank you for waiting, because we always come back.